Plants vs Zombies is an extremely well-made game. The order you unlock plants and encounter zombies is logical, and ensures you always have the tools to beat whatever zombies you find. But what if we threw all that out of the window? Welcome to the PvZ randomizer. This has a ton of different settings, all with the intent of randomizing the game. If you're confused on what that means, don't worry, I'll explain it, as well as how to download it and what each of the settings do. First of all though, let me say that I did not make this randomizer by myself. The original version of this, which randomized the levels but didn't update the plants, was made by RANDOMISER. I added the logic, restrictions, and a lot of the extra modes on top of that, and then VSoup did the most complex stuff regarding actually changing what happens in the game, so that stuff like the seed select actually works. This wouldn't be possible without their help. Anyways, the point of this randomizer is to throw you into a bunch of random levels with a ton of random plants, and you have to improvise a strategy with the limited random resources you have access to. The specifics of how and what is randomized can be tweaked depending on what you're looking for, which I'll explain shortly. But if you play with no extra modifiers, the randomizer works like this. You're guaranteed to get 1-1 first, unlocking Sunflower. After that, you'll be thrown into a random level, but one that is still possible without unlocking extra plants. So you can't get a night level without Pushroom, for example. Some levels are also gated behind getting a number of good plants, so you can't get 5-9 as soon as you unlock Flower Pot. The plant that you unlock is dependent on the level. After you play 4-7, you unlock Pumpkin. After you play 1-2, you unlock Cherry. The same as in the base game. If you play a level like 1-4, unfortunately you won't unlock anything. In terms of the shop, you can't buy anything as your money always resets to 0. But you do start with Pool Cleaners and Roof Cleaners, and after 14 levels, you unlock the 7th slot. And then after 24, you unlock the 8th slot. You won't be able to purchase rakes or upgrade plants though. The randomizer stops after you've played all 50 levels, so if you're planning on speedrunning / racing the randomizer, time ends after you pick up the reward at the end of the 50th level. If some of that sounded not fun to you, then don't worry, because there's plenty of modifiers to change it. I'll explain those in more details later, but for now, let's try and actually install the thing. For clarity, this guide is meant to be on Windows, since that is the only one I know how to install it for firsthand. It also will only work on the original non-Game of the Year edition of the game. If you have Michael Jackson as a dancer zombie instead of a disco zombie, you probably have the right version. If you have the Game of the Year version, you'll have to get the original version. Because this is the only language I know how to program in, and I'm somewhat familiar with how interacting with PvZ works in it now due to the TAS, you're going to need to install Python 3.11. I've included links in the description, but basically just make sure to download and install that. While you're installing it, please make sure to tick this box that says Add Python to Path. I spent almost an hour trying to figure out why this wouldn't work for someone who shall remain unnamed, which culminated in a message saying, "Oh, do you mean this box?" Please tick that box. After you have installed Python, go to the GitHub link in the description and download the program. The GitHub link will be updated whenever I make a new update, so check in periodically to see if there's anything cool. Now, this is really important. Before you can run the program, you need to go into the command prompt, at least that's what it's called on Windows. Once you're in, you need to type pip install pvz, exactly like how it has appeared on the screen. If you tick the box that says add Python to path, this should work. After you type it and press enter, you should get a confirmation of the installation. Now, when you open PvZ and double click the program, you should get a user interface. More importantly, when you click the window that shows the black box, it should not say PvZ not found. If it says that, then something has gone wrong. Either you're using the wrong version of PvZ or you didn't install pip correctly. If that's all working properly, great. There are a couple of important things to note though. When you start a new run, create the file and then run the program. If you run the program first, it may break. Renaming the file can also have consequences. Unfortunately, you also won't be able to save your progress, so you either have to do it in one sitting or leave the program running in the background. Another option is to save the seed, I'll go into more detail in that in a bit, and then use a program like PvZ Tools to skip your way to the level you were at, although that takes some time. This program was designed for speedrunners, so I haven't added save functionality yet, unfortunately. But finally, before you enter 1.1, make sure to click Submit Settings in the Settings menu, even if you haven't changed any settings. This is what it might look like if the program crashed, but it was still able to find PvZ. This is most likely due to creating the file after loading the randomizer. But speaking of those settings, let's go through them, and there's a lot. There might even be more by the time you're watching this, so if you're confused, click on the information button and whoa, that's a lot of text. So let's go through this in order. The first thing to talk about is the seed. The seed can be anything, numbers, words, etc. After you finish the run, you can look in the program, the black box, and see what your seed for the run was. If you want to replay the run with the same random levels and plants, using the same seed will achieve that. The seed likely won't give the same result after updating the program, however. Remember how I said some levels are gated behind getting a number of good plants, so you can't just play 5-9 as soon as you get Flower Pot? Well, challenge mode doesn't care about that. You've unlocked Starfruit or 3 Peter? Enjoy playing 3-6. Push through already? I think it's time for 2-9. Shopless is what it says on the tin. You can't use any items from the shop. You don't get your automatic pool cleaners or roof cleaners, you still don't earn any money, and you don't get extra slots from Dave. No Restrictions is a mode for... You can go straight from 1-1 to 5-9. You're not missing anything, that is literally just impossible. You're going to be resetting like mad. But when you do get a run going, it's really fun. If you're into that, I suppose. But it does allow for some of the craziest strategies you'd never get to use otherwise.
We beat the Garg stage without Pot. We're beating the Snorkel stage without Lily Pad. Yeah, well, there's another one. Come on, Melon. It does! It does! Is that the Snorkel? I think I see him. He's dead! The Conan's tanking. Yeah! Nice, actually. Cool. Relax. You'll handle it. Hey, Pot.
Potentially the most popular of the modifiers, manual money allows you to actually use the money you earn during the run. To be honest, I'm not entirely sure why this wasn't in the original version. You buy your own slots, rakes, and upgrade plants. You still get the cleans at the start of the run, just because it allows us some levels to be more possible, such as 5-1. It also means that Zomboss gives 3 diamonds for beating it, which can really help out. Instant Imitator is a personal favourite of mine. With this on, you instantly have access to the Imitator. Except, the Imitator can choose from any plant, even if you haven't unlocked it yet, which allows for 1 free slot to do as you choose. This mode also makes No Restrictions actually playable 99% of the time, so it's great for that. Random plants means that the reward for the level is not dependent on the level you just played. 4-7 usually unlocks Pumpkin, but it might instead unlock Flower Pot. If you get this as a reward, don't panic, your game isn't bugged. It just means you played a stage that unfortunately doesn't unlock anything. There's 11 of those. Seeded mode uses the seed I talked about earlier to do more than just keep the random levels and random plants the same. It also means that what zombies spawn, where zombies spawn, what plants the conveyors give you, etc. stay the same, which makes it perfect for doing races.
That's what they're for, they're for the final wave.
Thank God. Yeah, thank God for Kernel Full, because it's kind of saved me.
Alright.
Oh, it's gonna be fun.
Another roof stage! Let's go! 5-9!
Uh-oh.
No, is it really fun? Don't tell me.
No spoilers.
Please don't. Please don't.
Oh my God!
I am in so much pain. Why are we doing
Guys,
this?
levels in. How are we getting the three?
Bro, I'm gonna make up so much time here. Let's go.
Ow. Ow.
Big news,
How
dude.
is
We're
this
gonna be
happening,
playing
bro?
too bad.
Actually, how?
Upgrade rewards replaces most of those pesky rewards that give you nothing with upgrade plants. This includes the Imitator, which works the same as it does in Instant Imitator mode, although you can have a self-imposed restriction to only copy plants you already have. If you're playing without random plants, this is the list of which levels unlock which plants. Now we get on to the most recent ones, as of this video, and also the most complicated to explain if you're not familiar with PvZ. Random weights affects how likely it is for the zombies to spawn. Usually, basic zombies and coneheads are really likely, while zombies like dolphins, newspapers, vultures, etc. are less likely, and how likely they are depends on their weight. This mode randomizes the weights. You could end up with zombonis having a weight of something like 57,000, while most of the other zombies have a weight of around 1,500, and you could get a 310 like this. Common, I think, and like wave points is like, dude, there's on both! What am I meant to do? Please, somebody tell me what I'm meant to do here. Random wave points is similar, and here we are introduced to a technological advancement. 2 different modes, normal and extreme. Crazy, I know. But first, let me quickly explain what wave points are. Levels are meant to ramp up in difficulty the further you get into them, and the way this is done is through wave points. Initially, there is only one wave point, enough to spawn a single basic zombie. After 3 waves, it increases to 2 wave points, so the game can either spawn 2 basics or a cone. 3 waves after that, it's 3 wave points, etc. Each zombie has a wave point value. Footballers are worth 7, gargantuas are worth 10, dolphins are worth 3, etc. This mode changes those values. Normal mode will only slightly modify the wave points. Most zombies can be up to 1 wave point different than usual, with a couple able to have a 2 wave point difference, and gargantuas can have 3. Basic zombies are locked to 1 wave point, and newspapers are the only other zombie that can be a single wave point. Extreme mode means that any zombie can be anywhere from 2 to 7 wave points, with a rare chance of being at 10, except for normal, which is still locked at 1, and cones, which can only be 2 or 3. Extreme wave points with random weights can get crazy pretty quickly. If you want to look at what the wave points and weights of each of the zombies was in the level you just played, it gets printed to the console after you complete the level. Also, if you play with either of those modes and then decide to do another run without them, make sure you close the game first, otherwise some funky stuff could happen. And that's the randomizer. It's some of the most fun I've ever had playing PvZ, and trust me, I've played a lot of PvZ. Hope you enjoy!